It feels like streaming and subscription service Disney Plus just came out of nowhere. I mean, back when it launched back in 2019, Netflix was the dominant streaming service in the industry. But a recent report shows that Disney Plus may soon surpass Netflix in total number of subscribers within the next 5 years. This even comes after Disney's latest earnings report, where they showed their subscriber numbers for Disney Plus were actually dropping. Even still though, they are still projected to pass Netflix by sometime in 2026. In order to do that, Disney Plus is going to have to grow to 284 million subscribers by that same year. On the flip side though, Netflix is growing at a slightly slower rate. They're only projected to be at around 270 million subscribers by 2026. And while it seems like Disney Plus just came out of nowhere, Disney has been looking to become a serious competitor in the streaming game for a long time now, taking on the likes of Netflix and HBO. And Disney Plus may end up taking the big cheese to the top of the streaming world. And if this happens, it may not only make Disney Studios the biggest and most successful production studio in the world. So today I want to talk all about streaming services, where they've come, where they are now, and why they're so popular, and where they may be going in the future. And if you're an investor or potential investor in some of these companies I'm going to talk about, you may want to stick around till the very end of this video. But before we get into all of that, my name's Nate from Minority Mindset News, and if you like this video, make sure to smash that thumbs up button below and hit that little notification bell too. That way YouTube shows our videos to way more money minds around the world, and we can keep making videos just like this one. Streaming today is a mega industry, with Disney and Netflix both bringing in between $4 and $7 billion just from streaming revenue. But if you were to ask someone about streaming around 25 to 30 years ago, they'd look at you like you're crazy. Before we had streaming, we had VHS tapes and DVDs, and this is the industry in which Netflix was born. Before streaming services, networks on TV and movie companies had exclusive rights to the content that they produced. So if you wanted to watch a TV show, the only place you could watch it is on TV when it's on TV. I mean, sure, there were ways to actually tape your television, but those ways kind of complicated and outdated. And with movies, it was even harder. This was before cell phones, so you couldn't even go into the movie theater and film the movie on your phone. You actually had to watch the movie when it came out, and once its theatrical release was over with, the only other place you could watch it was TV or purchase it on DVD or VHS. So in order to make more sales, the movie industry had to respond, and more specifically, we needed an industry of watchers to watch more movies and TV. The 80s and 90s were a big time for movies and TV shows, but there was only so much money in ticket sales and ad revenue generated from TV. This is when we began to see companies form who would actually take this movie and TV experience and bring it to you on demand in your home. Blockbuster arrived in 1985 and basically revolutionized the way consumers watch and view entertainment. Because now it was completely on demand. If you missed the movie in its theatrical release, you could go to Blockbuster and rent the movie whenever you wanted to. You didn't have to buy the DVD. You could return it when you were done as well. And Blockbuster had a lot of old movies too. So if you were a few years behind on some of your movies, you could go to Blockbuster and rent a movie that was no longer being sold in stores. As you can probably guess, this was a super popular idea. I mean, like I said, movies were now on demand, so people could watch them whenever they wanted to. I remember myself going to Blockbuster almost every Friday night to pick out a movie. This was a movie that was either in circulation right now, one that we just missed, or one that was 10 to 15 years old. That was something you could now do. And it meant the movie industry needed to adapt and evolve its marketing to meet that new direct-to-consumer lifestyle. This went on for several years until Netflix was founded in 1997 and would again revolutionize the direct-consumer entertainment business. Netflix is a subscription-based service, so you could now get all of the new movies and TV shows sent directly to your house every single month. And all you had to do was pay that subscription fee and send the movie back. This made things even more on demand and faster for consumers. Now, as soon as a movie hit DVD, consumers could get it that day, versus going to Blockbuster. If a brand new movie came out to DVD and a ton of people wanted to go rent it, the store might run out of copies, but Netflix does not. Netflix even began to enter the video game space, so they would send you brand new games, and all you had to do was, again, pay the subscription service and send them back. Business was booming. But the United States and the rest of the world were beginning to enter a digital age. People didn't want to watch DVDs anymore. They wanted to watch things on their computer and on their TV again. This is when Netflix, again, revolutionized the industry. It would now provide streaming to its customers via the web without the third-party middleman of delivering DVDs. And again, this was a huge hit. You could now watch just about any movie or TV show with just the click of a mouse, instead of having to go through the whole process of ordering a DVD and then sending it back. And for a time, Netflix was the leader in the streaming industry. Even today, they are one of the largest streaming platforms on the planet. But like all things, industries change, and so does the way that consumers interact with those industries. So Netflix and a ton of these other businesses needed to adapt, and they needed to compete to this growing digital world. And as Netflix continued to grow, it started to take away some major business from the leading cable and satellite companies as well. Because think about it, if you wanted to watch an entire TV series, you'd have to watch it on live TV and wait each week for the episodes to come out. But with Netflix, all you'd have to do is wait for the season or series to finish, and you could binge watch the entire series all together. That was a huge plus for a lot of people, and they didn't have to deal with the headache of cable and satellite. Instead of having that satellite at the top of their house or that big box that sits under their TV, now all they'd need is an internet connection. And Netflix is extremely convenient too. It's a subscription service, so if you want to end your subscription after a month, you can do that. With cable and satellite, it's a little bit more difficult. If you decide to end your subscription, you now have to return all of their hardware. A lot of companies did not like this, so they switched things up and adjusted to the digital nature of society. And now, pretty much every major production company has some kind of streaming service. You've got Netflix, you've got Disney Plus, HBO, Hulu, and of course the live TV apps like YouTube TV and PlayStation TV. So what used to be a way for consumers to save money by only having one streaming service, a Wi-Fi connection, and that subscription cost, is now becoming a costly affair to watch all of the same shows. All of the major streaming services like YouTube TV, Disney Plus, and Netflix all raised their prices last year for a monthly subscription. And as more people are switching to them, they're getting more and more revenue, which means they're getting a lot more exclusive titles that are not shared on any other platform. That means in order to watch the things that you want to watch, you have to be subscribed to them all. But even with this, Disney Plus is expected to surpass Netflix and become the top streaming service in the world by 2026. And streaming companies are not just streaming companies anymore. They are full-fledged production studios. Roughly 40% of all of Netflix content is produced by Netflix. And Disney Plus's numbers are pretty similar. You now have full-fledged production studios making content for consumers directly. You don't need to go through a third-party company anymore to actually get to the consumer. So before, you actually had to pitch an idea to a network. The network would then produce and publish your content. But now, Disney's calling the shots, and so is Netflix, and sending that content directly to the consumer. That means big networks and movie companies are about to take a massive hit. Over the last year or so, the pandemic really hurt the movie industry. People couldn't go out, and even if they could not go to a movie theater because of the close proximity. So we saw another big shift in media. A lot of these companies that had streaming services were releasing their movies directly on to the streaming service. Now you didn't even need to buy a movie ticket in order to see the exclusive movies. And this is already becoming a highly lucrative affair for streaming companies. Earlier this year, Black Widow was released in movies and on Disney Plus. And on Disney Plus alone, it made around $125 million. So right now, it looks like the world is beginning to switch to a streaming-dominated society. People are streaming TV, they're streaming movies, and even in some cases, they're streaming video games. And people are even moving to stream non-traditional entertainment and education as well. YouTube has now become one of the largest streaming platforms in the world. And YouTube, at least in its regular form, is completely free. You can now go on YouTube and learn and watch just about anything in any industry that you'd like. So streaming isn't just dominating TVs and movies, it's dominating education and entertainment in general. And as the world continues to become more digital, streaming will start to get a lot more serious. For consumers, that means a lot more convenience and a lot more availability for that on-demand lifestyle. It also might mean, though, that things are gonna cost more. But now I wanna hear from you on this issue. Do you think that streaming will completely take over traditional media within the next 5 years? Or do you think that this big streaming craze is just a phase and that what people really want is traditional media, like watching movies in the theater and watching television on the TV through a traditional network? In addition, what do you think about Disney Plus overtaking Netflix as the top streaming giant by 2026? Do you think that'll actually happen, or do you think Netflix will make a comeback? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below before you go. But that is it for today's business and financial news breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. Keep hustling, money minds, and I'll see you all in the next one.